Robert Guillaume was the star of a show called Benson. And Benson was a big, solid network hit. And he was a big, solid network player. He was an Emmy nominated. And he hired me to be his lawyer. So the way I became his lawyer, which was very, I got fixed up on a blind date with this guy who was in the Warner Brothers writers program. And so we went on this date, and I was like, clearly we didn't want to date each other. But I said, because he was a writer, I said, if you ever need a lawyer, I would really like to be your lawyer. So a couple of years later, he comes and he has an offer, comes back to me, his name is Bill Boulware, my very first client, and Bill has an offer to be on Benson. And this is like a scale writer deal. And the guy who made the deals for Witt Thomas Harris, the production company, was really like, I can't remember his name, but he was a contemporary of Dixon's, and he was just like one of these guys who just started yelling and screaming at you the minute he picked up the phone. And I was so determined to make a better deal for him than a scale deal, which now I realize was totally ridiculous, that I was just screaming at him in return. And so Dixon called him and said to him, basically, you're going to give her, like another 5%, some. And he said, just do it, just do it. So he said, okay, Dixon, I'll do it for you. And so I was like a big hero. And so he went to work on Benson. And as it turns out, this particular Bill and Robert's wife, Donna, and I were all kind of in this little group of black people in Ivy League colleges, which I know sounds kind of weird, but there's actually, if you go into one of these schools, like the degrees of separation are so close, so small, that if you went to one school and then another graduate school, that you could practically know every black person in the Ivy League circuit. So Robert's wife, Donna, had gone to Vassar. So she was like in my Seven Sisters circuit, because it was like an association of black women in Seven Sisters schools. So she and I were in that together. And I got to know her more, and she said, you know what, I'm going to introduce you to Robert. And she introduced me to Robert, and she was like, Robert, you should really hire Nina. One, because she's smart and she's good and all the rest of that, but listen, this is what you're about. So Robert hired me, and I'll never forget it because his lawyer at the time, I don't recall his name, wouldn't send me Robert's files. He was like, you're going to be fired in about 6 months. And then you'd have to pack up the files and send them back to me.
And usually that's professional courtesy.
It's not, it's a law.
It's a law.
It's a law. Not professional
So he just
courtesy.
refused?
He just refused. And he sent them eventually because he saw that Robert wasn't going back. But I'll never forget that. So Robert became my first big client. And that was a big deal for me, that to have someone who was a star of a television show. And that kind of led to other people, me becoming better known and me getting other clients. But it was really all Donna.
And this blind date.
And this blind date, Donna and Robert.